We all know the classic image of an alien abduction: a dark stretch of woods, a blinding beam of light from above, and a helpless victim pulled into the sky by unknown entities. However, thousands of documented encounter reports suggest a much more varied landscape. When you look at the cases on record, the traits and behaviors of the visitors change depending on the specific entity in the room. Identifying the specific class of entity involved is the first step in assessing a potential threat level. Projecting human emotions onto biological drones leads to one set of risks, but failing to recognize the deliberate, calculated intent of a high-level overseer creates a far more dangerous misinterpretation. In the vast taxonomy of reported encounters, two distinct profiles consistently dominate the most intense cases: the Type C Bellatrax Gray and the Mantid. This organizational flowchart illustrates the rigid, almost military chain of command governing how these two species operate. The Mantids occupy the top of the structure, setting the agenda. The Type C Grays fill the base as a mass-produced, unskilled workforce. This master and servant relationship determines the tone of the abduction. An abductee's experience, ranging from clinical indifference to direct telepathic manipulation, is a function of which level of the hierarchy they are interacting with. This is a Type C Bellatrax Gray. They stand roughly 4 feet tall, with oversized heads, fetal proportions, and massive, uniform black eyes. There are no distinguishing features between individual units. Their lack of individuality is a result of their origin. These beings are mass-produced, cloned biological tools, grown to execute highly specific and repetitive manual labor. They operate as nodes in a hive mind. On their own, they possess no individual autonomy, no personality, and no independent drive. Witnesses often describe them as furniture that moves. They execute physical protocols around human subjects with a mechanical precision that is completely unresponsive to distress or verbal communication. During invasive medical examinations, their blank stares are frequently interpreted as a form of cold cruelty. But a machine cannot be cruel. The trauma of these encounters stems from the entity's total lack of empathy. They treat a human subject with the clinical neutrality a scientist applies to a lab rat. Behind the Grays, you will find the Mantids. They are the overseers, providing medical oversight and making the high-level decisions that drive the operation. They average 6 to 8 feet in physical height, with sharp triangular heads and segmented limbs bent at sharp angles. Their physical presence is a stark contrast to the small, uniform drones they command. While the Grays handle the collection of physical samples, the Mantids prioritize the study of human consciousness and the architecture of the soul. These entities possess immense intelligence and absolute autonomy. They are the architects of the encounter, capable of complex reasoning and independent choice. Possessing true agency, their actions are far more unpredictable than the programmed routines of a Gray. That intelligence creates a paradox. The hostility profile of a Mantid encounter varies wildly depending on which variant is present. The Type 1 Mantid is often described as gentle-spirited. Human subjects report a telepathically calming demeanor, where the entity uses its advanced mind to project reassurance, despite its terrifying form. The Type 3 variant is the opposite. These enforcers have a darker, armored exoskeleton and take on a much more aggressive posture. This caste uses its telepathic reach to project fear. They invade personal space, utilize silence as a weapon, and generate intense psychological trauma through a display of predatory dominance. A Mantid encounter ensures exposure to calculated intent. Depending on the variant, that intent manifests as either clinical observation or targeted terror. This quadrant chart maps these two species based on their operational independence and their perceived hostility. The Type C Gray sits in this bottom middle sector. They have low autonomy and register a neutral level of hostility. The Mantids occupy the top of the chart for high autonomy, but they split across the scale of hostility, with the Type 1 on the far left and the Type 3 on the far right. Mapping an entity to its quadrant clarifies the nature of the encounter. It distinguishes the programmed tools from the conscious architects. In this hierarchy, the Grays are merely the scalpel. The Mantids are the surgeon holding the blade. Evaluating encounter reports requires us to avoid anthropomorphizing the drones. Their perceived cruelty is simply a function of their emotionless programming. Analyzing a Mantid encounter requires a different framework, one that accounts for high-level, deliberate intent and the exercise of free will. This division of labor provides the necessary context to navigate the diverse taxonomy of reported extraterrestrial contact.